let's open the government up. Let's pay our controllers and reduce the pressure. That's not happening. The Senate actually is going home this weekend. As many people here can't get home, the Senate goes home. They should be here every day, every weekend, every week trying to find a deal so we can open the government back up. I'm getting sniped at by some Democrats. I don't like it. I didn't put us in this situation. They did. And to those passengers that are upset, listen, call your Democrat senator. 14 times they voted no to open up the government.
That's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy speaking from Reagan National Airport just moments ago as flight cancellations ramp up on day 38 of the shutdown. So now it gets very real. And it comes as Senate Republicans are expected to hold a test vote on a new plan to reopen the government. So with that, let's bring in Senate Majority Leader John Thune. So good to have you here. A headline in Axios this morning said that emboldened Dems push to prolong shutdown. And here is Chris Murphy to punch bowl as well. Watch.
I think there will be some pretty substantial damage done to a Democratic brand that has been rehabilitated if on the heels of an election in which the people told us to keep fighting, we immediately stop fighting. If we surrender without having gotten anything and we cause a lot of folks in this country who had started to believe in the Democratic Party to retreat again, I worry that it will be hard to sort of get them back up off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle.
Well, points for honesty, I guess. But one of the things I'm wondering, Senator, is are we farther away from trying to get this settled today on Friday than we were on Monday?
Dana, the Democrats just have to take yes for an answer. We've given them everything essentially that they were asking for, the reasonable Democrats, not the crazy ones like what you just heard. But they literally yesterday at their Democratic caucus meeting in the Senate had a pep rally. I mean, they are celebrating this. It's insane. And what's happening is the far left, which is the tail wagging the dog, is bullying the reasonable Democrats out of coming to the table. We have a proposal that they have been reviewing and looking at now for several days, mostly with things that they asked for, including a normal appropriations process. We open up the government. They get a vote on their Obamacare fix. They want to sit down, meet with the president on a path forward. He's more than willing to do that. All those things are in play, but they can't take yes for an answer for fear. I mean, these people are scared spitless of their base, and that's what's happening. Yesterday was a bullying session. The far left in the Democrat caucus bullied the reasonable ones out of coming to the table and settling this. I'm still hoping that these people are going to come to the table, and we'll find out soon enough.
How do you plan to do that? I think that's what's interesting is that Democrats following the elections on Tuesday, as Chris Murphy is just explaining there, again, they feel emboldened. They want to dig in their heels. Do you need President Trump to weigh in more here, and how would you like him to do that?
Well, President Trump is more than willing to weigh in and to talk to the Democrats about path forward on how to fix the unaffordability and unsustainability problems of Obamacare, a problem the Democrats created. The president's more than willing to help them fix that, but not while the government is being held hostage. All the president's saying is, open up the government, then let's sit down and talk on a path forward. That's been offered up. I mean, I don't know how you can be more reasonable. This is really a handful of Democrats who it's all we need is 5 to come forward, but they again are being bullied by their leadership, by the far left in this country, and as a consequence of that, you got troops, men and women in uniform, are going without pay. You got women and children who are going to be going without WIC and food stamps. You've got people who are working in airlines and airports, as you heard Secretary Duffy say earlier, and flight delays and everything that goes with that. The pain is multiplying for the American people, and the Democrats yesterday at their caucus meeting, Dana, were celebrating it. It was a big pep rally, and I just don't know how you defend that to the American people who are the ones that are suffering.
I don't know if this is the case, but I understand that one of the possibilities is to get the government funded until January. But if we have this same problem in January, what's going to change on Obamacare? Because those subsidies are not going to get any less expensive.
Right, but I mean, I think we will have a normal appropriations. We'll have passed most of the bills. That's what we've got right now. And we got a 3-bill package that's passed the Senate already. We want to attach the CR to that now, get those 3 bills signed into law by the president, and get to work on the rest of the appropriations process. That's something the Democrats have said in the past that they want to do. But now, I mean, they're running for cover. I mean, these people are afraid, they are scared. And that's the challenge we have right now in dealing with the Democrats. But I still think there are a handful of the reasonable ones who we wear into the weekend here. And by the way, we're going to give them a chance to vote later today on paying people who are working. But if they don't at some point come to the table and open up the government, the American people are going to continue to suffer. And I don't know how they can sustain this position. No, I don't believe so. If it does, it's going to be up to them. But honestly, I think like I said, there's a path forward here. All they have to do is take yes for an answer. We've offered them a solution. The president's willing to meet with them. I'm willing to give them the vote. All the things that they said they wanted. This has now become a function of, this is Trump derangement syndrome. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. And these folks in their caucus right now, they don't care what the issue is. If President Trump is involved with it, they just want to fight.
Last question: after the races that were won in Georgia on Tuesday, the other part of your job is making sure that you keep the Senate majority. Looking at that and knowing that a year goes by pretty quickly, are you concerned that the Democrat Jon Ossoff could win again in Georgia, and then if you have Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, running as a centrist, like Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, do those races become more expensive or harder for you to win?
I think they're going to be hard and expensive. I think this is a country that's very divided. You won't have in a midterm election President Trump on the ballot. He is the person that brings a lot of our voters to the polls, which means we're going to have to double down and work really, really hard on getting the vote out. But Dana, I don't think you can read too much into this. I mean, I've been around here long enough. I've been through off-year elections, midterm elections, presidential elections, and things change in a hurry. But what I can tell you right now is we need to get the government opened up for the American people. And they're the ones who are hurting from all this. And ultimately, the Dems may think they're winning in the short term, but this is going to cost them in the long term because it's very clear right now. I mean, they're owning it. They're taking credit for it. They're out there bragging about this. You've seen some of these Democrat senators and House members out there on a daily basis basically saying, we're going to double down, And I just think this is it's an unsustainable position for them. And they may think they're winning in the near term, but believe me, the American people are going to have an opportunity next year to weigh the differences in the direction of this country and where the president and the Republican majorities here in the Congress are taking us is going to be a stronger economy, a safer country, a more secure country, and a country where working people have opportunities to advance and get better paying jobs.
Senator Thune, thank you. We'll touch base with you next week.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.